It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
I want you to take a moment, stop and think. What is the one thing your company needs? What do you need? Well, stick around. Today's show, I've got a man who's speaking my language in the chair. Hamish Knox is with Sandler, a global network, and he works with people he's not selling you a course, he's stepping in as your co-pilot. I am super excited to pick his brain around, sales versus systems versus success. And how do you create something that's sustainable and repeatable? But first, our land acknowledgement. We here at the Calgary Petroleum Club, in the spirit of reconciliation, honor and acknowledge that the land on which we learn, work, and live is Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. This place is the traditional homeland for the First Nations and Métis peoples, and today we all are part of this treaty land. All right. I am really excited to dive into this with an expert in what is probably one of the scariest aspects of scaling a business is the sales and acquisition side of business. Hamish, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I plan on personally learning, making sure, Jackson, make sure you have lots of notes here because I'm going to be learning a lot. My producer and I are going to be learning everything we can from you.
Awesome.
Let's first start with, I love you have a very amazing elevator pitch. Give it to me.
We at Sandler Calgary, we support entrepreneurs to sustainably scale their sales so they can eventually exit for their number, not the number they're told to take.
I always say if it's not sellable, scalable, and sustainable, it's not a business, it's a hobby.
Yeah, amen.
So what is it because you had a slight different variation on that? What was that?
So it's sustainably scaling because ultimately most sales, right? It's peak and valley, right? So we did a whole bunch of effort and we hit a mountaintop and then we literally fell off a cliff. Or we built the business to the point where it could be sellable, except we didn't get the number that we wanted because ultimately the founder or the entrepreneur was so heavily involved in the revenue generation that the acquirer went, yeah, that's great, except you don't have a business, you have a job.
That's interesting because I've seen a lot of people that they have to stay on with the company they sell for 1 year post or 5 year post, depending on what the contract is.
Yep.
So basically they sell and they have a job now with this new owner of the company that they spent forever. Is that what it is? They come in, they say, this isn't a company we can purchase without you?
It's an earnout, and earnouts suck badly. I've talked to so many entrepreneurs who went through the earnout process and they're like, yeah, by 3 weeks in, I'm like coming in and checking Facebook all day because I literally have to be there, but I literally don't have anything to do and it's no longer mine. And so I'm looking around and the new owner, as is their right, is making all these changes, whether I agree with them or not. They're changing the thing that I built. And so for the entrepreneurs that we work with, it's a check on closing day. And it's built up, their revenue engine is built up so we can pop Kim out, we can pop Jackson in. The gears take a second to engage, but then Jackson can take that business and scale it himself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I've been on this last 3 years is literally learning all the internal systems so that we have every SOP in place, like everything is in place. So if I wanted to take off or if my mother needed assistance and I had to leave or whatever, the system, the company can run the way it's meant to run. The reason that it so grows, because I know that as being an entrepreneur and the SME, we tend to attract the business and people trust us.
Yeah.
But if we don't put that knowledge.
Totally.
Okay. You have got me ringing here because we're literally on, I want to talk, oh, wow, so much, so much. I'm so excited. So Sandler's been around forever.
Yep.
You've been with Sandler for 14 years, and it's a globally recognized company, and you are a 2 times author.
For
almost.
Sandler, yeah.
For Sandler. Okay. So give me a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit of Sandler,
Sure.
and then I want to bring this back around. And if you're good with this, I'd like to actually turn this a bit into like almost an edutainment series episode. Are you good with that?
Speaking my language.
Awesome. So give me a bit more as to why Sandler. Don't
Sure.
tell me about the widgets.
Yeah.
Tell me why I would call Sandler today. What's my issue and how is Sandler going to solve it?
So ultimately, Sandler comes down to two buckets. One is more effective human-to-human interactions, and bucket number two is consistent, repeatable, sustainably scalable revenue generation. So we have been called in when executive teams are maybe not talking to each other very well. Maybe there's misalignment between what vision are we going for, or we've been brought in by sales leaders who are looking at their funnel, and their funnel either looks like a pencil or looks like an accordion, and they see no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes we get brought in because there is a exit in the future. So for private equity or venture backed, those two types of shareholders have term limits, right? They have a 5-year window, 7-year window, whatever. And either the executive who's in place or the shareholder themselves look at the business and say, we're not going to get our multiple. And our time horizon is very short. So we need to get in there and make something that the next buyer is going to look at and go, I can see how I'm going to get my return on that. And we actually had a client do a $500 million exit. And that was one of the reasons why they got the multiple they got, is because their new shareholder was able to literally model backwards and model forwards and could see how they could actually get their ROI based on the processes and procedures that have been set up on the revenue generation side.
So statistically, only 9% of companies ever crack 7 figures.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there are people like the Grant Cardones out there
Mm-hmm.
who are telling you 10x, 10x, 10x.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's just the easiest thing. It's the same I think it's the same people that schedule the Instagram content that says schedule a month worth of your social media in 1 hour.
Yeah.
But how do people beat the odds?
Well, number one, they implement, right? So all my stuff works if it's implemented. It's all great to go to a conference or watch a video or hear a webinar and be like, that's great information, and I'm never going to implement it. Now, we don't actually say that I'm never going to implement it. There was a stat I saw that 97% of all self-directed courses that are paid for and started are never finished.
Never finished. Yep.
And so it's like, well, you've got all this wealth of information, and this is why you have those individuals who are online going, buy my course, buy my this. By the way, they've got their money.
Yeah.
And they're walking away, whether you grow or not. And David Sandler said, you won't fail because I won't let you. And so we support our clients as whole human beings, because our clients are not CEOs or CFOs or CROs or sellers or customer service people. They are Melanies, they are Grants, they are Stevens, they are Sophias, who have real hopes and fears and dreams and worldviews that are not ours. And our goal is to get them from where they are to where they want to be, not where we think they should be to where we think they should be.
Human beings by nature, the lizard brain that we all are working with, that's a millennia old, right?
Yeah.
Is afraid of hard things.
Yep.
It's very hard to do that. One of my absolute favorite books is Atomic Habits.
Great book.
It's like literally, if I was to recommend to any salesperson, it would be Atomic Habits, and an oldie but a goodie is Bob Burg, Go Giver and Go Giver, Sell More.
Beautiful.
I love those. And then just for, I know we got Ziegler and we've got all these Maxwell's and all these, but another really great one is the real estate one, which we call the Red Bible, is by Keller, right? So what does Sandler do? How does Sandler navigate the human condition, which is not lazy? I want people to know that if you are not making 200 or 300 or $1 million a year, it is not because you're lazy, because a lot of those people work harder than anybody at a standardized job or an employment that would make the same amount of money.
Totally.
How does Sandler help with the human condition.
Well, it all goes back to the title of David Sandler's book, which is You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. And so pretty much all training, especially soft skills, which is what my work falls into, is seminar-based, right? So you go to a boot camp or a weekend or whatever, and it's like, you're a better leader, seller, whatever. It's like humans don't work that way. My second book was on change and change management and the human side of change. And so Sandler is built around the adult learning model, which is ongoing reinforcement over time. Sandler also built his entire communication system on transactional analysis, which is the psychological theory of how human beings actually interact and relate. And so a lot of what the work we do with our clients in the system that Sandler built is stripping away all of the nonsense that usually happens between buyer and seller, husband and wife, et cetera, and really getting to the truth. And the challenge is, especially in North America, we've been taught to obfuscate the truth, right? We use euphemisms and we use this soft, gentle language that takes the life out of life, as George Carlin said. And so ultimately, what we're helping our clients do is get to the truth. Whether they like the truth or not is irrelevant. Let's get to the truth because our only valuable is our time. And if we spend days, months, years chasing an opportunity or chasing a candidate who's not going to be a good fit, we've just burned our most valuable resource. So let's get to the truth. If it's not a good fit, awesome. Shake hands, part friends, move on. And if it is a good fit, mutually agree as to how you're going to walk down the path together, whether it's a buyer and a seller or a leader and a potential team member.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. And you just actually laid this out perfectly. Because you can't teach somebody to ride a bicycle at a conference.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to say that if you are an entrepreneur struggling, like statistically, I think it's what the average entrepreneur in North America makes less than $76,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And half of that is spent on their operations costs. So they are working 16-hour days
Mm-hmm.
half the time,
Mm-hmm.
always juggling the bills.
Yep.
And they're doing it for $36,000 a year. So you could have gone and worked at an ice cream shop and gotten a management job. You'd probably be fatter, but hey, I like ice cream. That was my first job. So this is the hard part. I'm going to ask you, what are the top 3 challenges on average? We're going to make this very general.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs and we're going to qualify this down. We're not selling a product.
Nope.
We're selling a service.
Perfect.
So they are selling themselves.
Yep. Selling air.
Okay. And so this could be a real estate agent. This could be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking about an entrepreneur that I've got a new course.
Right.
That's not just everything. We're talking lawyers or entrepreneurs. This last week, I've had 4 conversations with lawyers, and you know what? They're just like realtors. What's your number 1 pain point? Clients. I need more clients. What's your number 2 pain point? Retention. I can't have. So
Yeah.
what are the 3 mindset challenges you see when you get a new client?
Yeah.
And then we're going to, and I love my 3s. I work in 3s.
Beauty.
Then we're going to move that to take each one of those and give 3 things they could do in a daily mindset reset
Beauty.
to deal with that one issue.
Yeah. I love that you said mindset because Sandler's success triangle is attitude or mindset, behavior,
3
and technique. Now, pretty much all training that anybody ever does is technique based, right? It's how do you handle stalls and objections? How do you close? How do you interview? How do you coach, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And, there's that Henry Ford quote about whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So that's mindset. So like mom told us never to talk to who?
Strangers.
Yeah. What's a cold call?
A stranger.
Yeah. So does it matter if I have 47 awesome new ways to make cold calls? Who wins, me or mom? Mom wins.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that. Mom wins. We all know that.
Mom always wins.
Mom always wins, right? So,
and if you're really good at what you're doing, you don't ever talk to a stranger.
Amen, sister. So most of our work with our clients is attitude, mindset based. The other part is behavior or the proactive activities, the what you need to do to be successful on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, which pretty much no one else does, like at all. And I've been in sales since I was 19. I've done all the trains. I didn't know anything about Sandler until my last sales manager introduced me. But let's circle back to your question about what's the 3 mindsets. So number 1 is put the pressure on the process, not the person. So sales is the only department, picture this. Let's say in, the accounting department in your organization, do they come in on Monday and be like, how are we going to account for expenses today? Or how are we going to build the balance sheet this week? No, they have a process, right? Operations has a process. Delivery has a process. Sales, it's like, I don't know, who should we call? I don't know. Let's go to the K's. Kim. Yeah, let's call Kim today. Yeah, sounds like good. So put the pressure on the process, not the person. Number one. Number two is sales just doesn't happen. Right? So as my last sales manager says, in sales, no one ever says, oh, thank God you showed up. Right?
We're all going, God, another person that wants it in my pocket.
Exactly. The other one is differentiate on how you sell, not what you sell. Because what we sell is a commodity in the minds of our buyers. It does not matter what we sell.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if we're literally selling glasses, right? Which, that's a product, or if we're selling a service. Because I got to tell you, a lawyer's a lawyer's a lawyer. Now, I appreciate that there's real estate law and corporate law and criminal law and all that. Okay, fine. A real estate lawyer is a real estate lawyer.
The law is still the structure of which you are working within. It's just the interpretation.
It's a commodity.
Yeah.
So what's the only way to differentiate a commodity? Price.
Well,
or
the person you're working with. Do you value that person
right
greater than, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be working for people who are always going, but can you do it for less? Can you do it for less?
Totally.
Right.
So this is the differentiate on how you sell. They're not going to know that until you actually have a real conversation, right? So we have to have a real conversation. The other, and I'll give you a 4 because I know you're working in 3s. So I got to go
into a square.
I got to give you 4 because this is critical. Rapport beats relationships every time for selling. So too many, especially professional services, right? Selling air, right? Selling services. Like, oh, it's great relationships. Like, actually, Harvard did a study, turned into the book, The Challenger Sale, which is really good, that relationship-based sales is the single worst way to sell.
Yep.
And so the word rapport, the root of the word rapport is the word trust. Do people trust salespeople? No. So when someone gives us an order, whether it's the first time or the 50th time, what they're saying in code words is, I trust you to deliver.
Bingo.
Now, my friend Carlos, who runs the Sandler office in Miami, says, the sale does not come from the relationship. The relationship comes from the sale. So where I get misinterpreted, because I'm fairly a direct communicator, is people think that I'm saying relationships aren't important. No, they're crucial. Because to your point earlier about the lawyer who wants to keep retention, that's where relationship comes in.
Exactly.
But we have to start with rapport. They have to trust us more than they trust everybody else.
And that's what I like, Bob Burke. So I'm on the media side of things. Now, I have a blessing of 20 years licensed real estate agent. In my first 14 years, I was chairman club for Royal LePage for 8 of it. I started, top 1% in Canada for 8 years. It did $7.4 million in commissionable sales.
Beauty.
Inside of my first, inside of 17 years. So about 5 times the national average, right? And it wasn't because I had the coolest logo, which I did. It wasn't because of any of that. I followed that know, like, trust. And I understood that trust was either their time or their money or a combination thereof.
Totally.
And we are not making any more time. Time is the most valuable commodity, and they need time in order to make money, in order to pay me. And that knowing me is not call me for a free home evaluation. I never had that on a single bus bench.
Awesome.
Not once. We did crazy, cool, fun stuff. We did really, really, that showed our personality.
Love it.
So we were able to, on the very first track, weed out the people who would not like us.
Totally.
Right? So get to know us. Now you come over to like. So obviously you're resonating with our branding.
Yeah.
This is where people, I think one of the ways that they really screw up is they try to follow what's on Instagram. They try to follow what everybody else is doing, and they don't follow their own uniqueness.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're not unique. You're uniquely not unique.
Yes.
There are 1,000 people that will work with you that are as unique as you. Right? So, and then that know, like, trust is what we modeled everything we did.
Beauty.
All right. And I love what you like. It's crazy that we haven't crossed paths sooner, because this is speaking my language.
Beauty.
And I don't want to be anybody's coach or mentor. I'm not with Sandler. I think that creating that almost familial type of network. Oh, and by the way, the very first thing I tell people when I've worked with a lot of real estate agents when they're getting launched. And the very first thing I tell them is, you've got a sphere of influence. And one piece of that sphere is your friends and family. Those are not your clients.
Correct.
Those can be your advocates. Hey, Mom, I love you. By the way, if you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell, would you feel comfortable and confident in telling them about me?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do to help you with that? Hey, brother, I know you know 4 other real estate agents. I'm not asking for your business. I'm asking, would you be willing to put me on your list of referred agents? And so the very first time I said, the fastest way to being broke is to count on your cousin selling through you.
Yes. Amen.
You know, and I just think that a lot of people, how do you feel about the digital world? So I know in real estate in 2006, we saw Boomtown and a couple other CRMs come to town. And then we layered that in with all the meta ads. And now we have an entire group of young professionals that don't know how to talk to people.
Yep.
What are some things that they can do to start getting off of meta ads? You could still have meta ads for your client's home.
Sure.
Right? Because that's good for them. Your client sees you working. Go for that. How do we get them off of doing the death spiral of the skinny pant, rented car, bull loney videos that show nothing of who they are?
Yeah.
How do we get them off that?
So my mindset is people buy from people.
Person seeing this?
No, not at all. Like I was just speaking at our Sandler Summit down in Orlando. We actually had 3 separate talks, one of which was called Human Connection in the Age of AI. And so, for now, it'll change. We're still selling to human beings. And those human beings have hopes and fears and dreams and worldviews that are different than ours.
Yep.
And the first way to, get off behind the videos and off the cameras and all that is, to quote a famous shoe brand, just do it, right? So get out there and baby steps. So most people get confused and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to go from 0 to the mountaintop in one move. I've made this mistake many times. And it's wrong. We need to baby step. So what is the baby step that we can do? So do a baby step, design an experiment, right? It's all experiments. So the experiment is, I'm going to go to a networking group, right? So I'm going to go to a networking luncheon. I'm going to look for one in my area that I specialize in. And I'm going to go to a networking group and I'm going to introduce myself in a way that doesn't make me sound like every other realtor that people talk to. And I'm going to have my personality into it. And I'm going to be that person. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to analyze. And I'm going to say, okay, what worked? What didn't go so well? What would I adjust next time? Okay, great. Now I'm going to go do another experiment. The key with these other experiments is put the other experiment in your calendar before the first one.
Absolutely.
Trap yourself. No, it's trapping.
Yeah.
You got to trap yourself because our brain is wired to keep us safe, which usually means stuck.
Yeah.
So when we say, well, I'm going to do this, our brain's like, that sounds like work. So the couch is nice. How about we just sit on the couch for another day? And then we go, yeah, you're right. We should probably just sit on the couch again for another day. So we have to have these little traps and we have to have support groups. Now I know the phrase support group has a bit of a negative connotation for some people. Ultimately, we have to overcome our brain's natural wiring. Yeah. And so we need people who love us and support us and are going to coach us and cajole us and hold us accountable to actually making the changes that we want. And this is going to be a big part of development for a lot of people, is to shake the crabs out of their life. Yeah. And so there's a theory some of your listeners might have heard of called the crabs in the bucket theory.
Yeah.
Those of you who haven't heard it, very simple. You put a whole bunch of crabs in a bucket and the question is how many escape? And the answer is 0, because the minute one crab starts to get to the edge, the other crabs pull them back down. And so again, one of the things that we talk about with our clients is what Sandler called the identity role theory. And so our identity is who we are as a human being, right? It's our self-worth, it's our self-concept, it's our self-identity. And everybody in our life is measuring themselves by us. So I have people in my life who are saying, I could never do as well as Hamish does. And I have other people in my life saying, I'm so glad I'm not doing as bad as Hamish is doing. And when you make changes and as you're listening to this, you'll have an example. When you start to make changes, whether you want to start exercising or whether you want to learn to cook or you want to learn to dance or you want to learn to code or whatever, you will have people in your life being like, come on, really?
I'm going through that right now, actually.
Okay.
So I'm a salesperson. I have sold all my life, and people can say whatever. Sales is not, exchanging stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I am wired naturally that if I have something here, to find a solution for something there. That is how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And salespeople also have the lovely advantage of being neurodivergent with ADHD. It's like 70% of us or something like that. And so I'm always looking for, when I was selling my Girl Scout cookies, when I was a kid, I was the last Girl Scout standing, that the diabetic couple down the street that my grandma, they were older, I lived with my grandma and grandpa, diabetic, they would not eat the cookies.
Sure.
But they always bought 3 boxes so they'd have them on hand when their grandkids came.
Makes sense.
And who sold them that? An 8-year-old little girl standing on their front doorstep. So I have this natural ability. My biggest downfall up to this has been that when you say process, where do those opportunities, leads, clients, contacts, whatever you want to call it, I like to look at it as an opportunity. This is an opportunity for somebody that I can serve, that I can help, that I can help grow and maybe learn, train, right? So that I never had, so I was always one off, running.
Yep.
So I've forced myself for the last 28 months,
Awesome,
head down in what I chose as our CRM. And nowadays there's so many great opportunities out there because they're doing web stacking. So your website, your CRM, your social media, your mail gun, everything. And like these teams, I didn't even know these terms.
Yeah.
I knew MailChimp.
Right.
I didn't realize what MailChimp actually is a mail gun that you need a DNS code with it. So if I knew the right questions, I'm not the one doing programming, but I need to know what to ask. And I need to know the importance of putting that contact in a workflow so that I'm keeping regular contact based on what they spoke to me about, not that general, right? But and I think that's where a lot of salespeople who are entrepreneurs miss the boat.
Totally.
So when we're looking at this, how do you get those people like me, to slow down and document? Put the process in place.
Totally. So we have to break down, so mindset perspective, we have to break down that like documentation sounds like a big thing, right? Like some of your listeners, when we said documentation, they just had to like, hold on, like I've got stuff to do, right? Can't do that, right? Start with one thing. The one thing that I recommend this is like the first exercise we do with all of our clients, build a checklist. Checklists are superior to scripts. A company I worked for before I started my Sandler business, they were very big on their scripts. And the senior executives had these incredible scripts they designed. And we had an inside sales rep here in Calgary, and they were bathed in this script, right? Their first 2 weeks was learning the script and all that.
The 10-point,
all that,
set
right?
the framework, the heavens, the sky, sky's the limit. Like
you say this, they say that, right?
Yeah.
Right? And in the first
I've built
day,
so many of those over my lifetime. Yeah.
First day, they were allowed to make real live calls to real buyers. They were overheard to say good morning name. And they didn't last. I'll just put that out there. And so ultimately, it's about what are the mountaintops I want to get to? Because Sandler is a conversational communications model built on a series of small mutual agreements. So I tell my clients, I don't want you to say it like me. In my first 12 months in Sandler, I cost myself $800,000 in business regurgitating things I heard David Sandler say. And I would listen to it was a CD at that point. And I'd have a meeting and I'd go out and I'd meet with Kim, and Kim would say this. And I was like, oh, Sandler on the tape said, if the buyer says this, you should say that. And so I would go, well, Kim, blip. And you would look at me like you just went to sales training, didn't you? Yeah. You've got a shiny new toy to try out. And so it's got to be conversational. And so ultimately, that's why a checklist is superior to a script, because the checklist says, hit the mountaintop. Don't hit it in my way. Hit it in your way. Ultimately, it becomes a coaching tool, because now I can bring that to you and you can say, okay, Hamish, how was your call with Jackson? And be like, oh, look at the checklist, Kim. And you'd be like, okay, cool. Tell me about this point. Oh, okay. Sounds like you didn't quite hit the mark on that. How about we do a little bit of role play? How about we do a little bit of coaching, and next time you'll be better, right? Because now it's an opportunity to grow your team as opposed to making it a gotcha moment. So for entrepreneurs, start with a checklist. It's the simplest thing you can do. And it's also the simplest thing that you can then remove yourself as a bottleneck, because you can hand that checklist to anybody and say, when you are talking to a buyer, these are the things I want you to do.
So start a checklist. It's about the process. Let's go through this. I want to start breaking this down. So it's the process. So have a process so that when you build your amazing company and you crack that 7 figures and you now are moving onward and you're building it to either scale or sell, you have the process down.
You have something started. Yeah. So ultimately you need the what information you need to gather, and then you need the how are you going to go get that information. So before I joined Sandler, we had a training from a company that does colored sheets, right? Green sheets and blue sheets. I understand there's gold sheets now. And it's a great what. There's lots of great what's out there. There aren't any how-tos. So my sales manager, the guy who introduced me to Sandler, who had 8 sellers on his team, including me, had 8 sales languages to process. So if you have the what, but you don't have the how-tos, you're not as efficient as you can be because everybody thinks they know what a hot lead sounds like. Yeah. And so instead, let's get the what, the process, and let's get the how-to, which is the system.
And the system, I think that if people, because maybe this is just me.
Sure.
But with entrepreneurs and small, medium businesses, but more so entrepreneurs, because a lot of entrepreneurs are selling air, right?
Very true.
A lot of them are also very risk tolerant, and they're almost like that lottery ticket mentality.
Yeah.
And I think that if they had a process, and I think that's what I've learned over the last 28 months, with the process, I can, instead of, I'm going to get the next one, right? And then it doesn't happen because there's no process to nurture, to do the how-to.
Yep.
If I say, my new expectation is that this person will come into my nurture campaign. And I know that statistically it takes 7 to 10 touches for those people to view you as a value.
Yeah.
Money's limited. Time's limited, folks. If they're giving you your money or time, that means they see a value there. Have you created a value? Probably not over 3 glasses of wine at the club, right? But the club is the starting point.
Totally.
But what's your process to engage?
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's the biggest, I think that's the biggest challenge for most people is having that system.
Well, it is. And partly because entrepreneurs hear system or process and they hear handcuffs.
Yeah.
And it's not handcuffs, it's freedom because we actually know what the playing field is.
Did you get your emails for the reminder?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love workflow, folks.
Amen.
Yeah. First one took me 11 hours to figure out, and I cried and I cried. And I remember like beating my head. I'm going to hire a VA. And I said, no, I need to know this so I know how to ask for it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to scale my company, our goal is 2.4 by, we've got a 30-month window on that.
Amazing.
And we know we have everything listed. And I'm not afraid to say that to people. I'm not afraid to say how much I'm worth because I truly believe in what I'm creating because I'm creating systems for other people's authority recognition.
Exactly.
Right? What have we missed that we have not talked about? So everybody go out and get your process and call Hamish. He will help you with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are we missing? What have we not talked about?
So the one other thing that we need to absolutely touch on is process is not set it and forget it. It's got to be evolving. So it's a set it, go get data, right? Run it, analyze that data when you're starting every 75 days. And people say, why not 90? Because all the momentum we've built up. And if we wait till 90 days, we actually don't review it until like 120 days. And now we're already into a next quarter. So early on, every 75 days, review the process, review the data. Once it's pretty much locked down, you can expand that out to, 6-ish months, 5.5 months. You got to review it. Because if you just like set it and forget it, it's going to fail because we're not perfect and we're going to forget things and the market changes.
Language changes.
Exactly.
And thinking of changes, like honestly, Gemini, ChatGPT, any of these tools trained properly. I've got Gemini completely trained as my personal assistant.
Amazing.
For all my time scheduling.
Cool.
And Gemini, I also just had Gemini. I'm not going to say which show it is. I had her go in and do a cross-referencing based on iHeartRadio's recommendations for a podcast and analyze another person's podcast and compare it to this podcast, because this podcast is beautifully done from all the assets to the intros to it's very sophisticated.
Yeah.
And then make a cohesive letter or like a cohesive checklist as to all the things that podcast should be doing for that company.
Beautiful.
And AI is not to replace the human intelligence. It's to enhance your work output.
100%. One last thing.
Yes. Oh, we could do this for hours.
Oh, we certainly could. And I know we have a finite amount of time. I have to say this, especially to the entrepreneurs. It is delegation, not abdication. There are way too many entrepreneurs and they fall victim to the like, well, they were with a Fortune 500 company and they say they got lots of great relationships. And I will tell you, listeners, that ends in heartache and tears 99% of the time. So yes, there is the one unicorn, and I'm sure someone's going to write into Kim or put a post up on social media, be like, well, I found the one. Awesome. You're the exception, not the rule. So you will always be the chief sales officer in your company. Whether you have a sales leader and a massive sales team, you are ultimately the chief sales officer. So you are not abdicating responsibility for revenue generation. You are delegating it, leveraging your processes and your systems. I wrote an article years ago called 4 Reasons Why It's a Terrible Idea for an Entrepreneur to Hire a Seller. And there's actually 4 boxes of like, have these checked. If you read the comments, some people failed reading comprehension, but that's okay. So that is one key thing we have to say is entrepreneurs, you're always going to be involved in sales.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are the main attractor because you're either it's a race to the bottom of the price barrel, or it's showcasing why you don't have competition.
Exactly.
Just remember, folks, there's only 7 original storylines. That's from Hamlet. You look at any movie, any storyline out there. And the reality is every single person you're looking to serve or create a solution for is in the same thing. And I had somebody earlier say, oh, we started doing this when there was no competition. Now there is competition. I'm looking at him going, you don't have any competition. You just dropped 3 incredible golden nuggets here that like we could take to the bank.
Yeah.
You don't have competition. There are 1,000 people waiting to work with you because they are like you.
Exactly.
Hamish, this is, I could see us. Where can we see you next or listen to you next? Like, what are the opportunities to learn from you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So there are not many Hamish Knoxes. Very, very easy. I'm the number 1 Google result for Hamish Knox. I'm the world's number 1 result. So go.sandler.com/Hamish or find me on LinkedIn. Sandler Calgary, LinkedIn and Instagram. We do a ton of video content, lots of clips from my talks and from standalone videos. So I would recommend those 2 places, and certainly happy to have a conversation with anyone who does eventually want to exit for their number.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, CALPETECLUB.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.